Spend the next 20 minutes feeding your brain with Formosa Fauna so you can become smarter than all of your friends. Every Friday is Formosa Fauna Friday. Hello, I am Tristan Hildebrand, the voice of Formosa Fauna. I love animals and I love talking about them. If you're like me, or if you're even remotely curious about the animal kingdom, you've come to the right place. On today's agenda, we're going to talk about a lot. 7 things mainly. Taipei Zoo sending their remaining Malayan sun bears to Japan. New Taipei opening its first wildlife rescue center. A new Taiwanese documentary following mountain hawk eagles for over 12 years. Rescued Formosan black bear mother and her cub released into the wild. Jai building a new fence to protect terns from dogs. Iceland Fashion Week adopting a fur-free policy, and retired racehorses being used in American miscarriage experiments. Let's dive right in. Two Malayan sun bears previously housed at Taipei Zoo have been relocated to Japan as part of a conservation effort for the vulnerable species. The transfer took place earlier this week, with both animals, each 18 years old, successfully arriving at Maruyama Zoo. This was reported on by Matthew Strong with Taiwan News. The receiving zoo in Sapporo has prior experience caring for Malayan sun bears, which contributed to the decision to move the pair there. According to zoo officials, discussions regarding the relocation had been going on for several years before an agreement was finalized. To prepare the bears for transport, caretakers introduced the travel crates into their enclosure in advance. Food was placed inside the containers to encourage them to enter voluntarily, allowing them to become accustomed to the environment before departing. In the days leading up to the transfer, staff from both institutions coordinated closely to monitor the animals' physical condition and behavior. This cooperation was intended to ensure the bears were fit for travel and to minimize stress during the process. Very good ideas. Following their arrival in Japan, the bears will not immediately be integrated with other animals. They are required to complete a quarantine period before joining the existing population at Maruyama Zoo. And this is in line with standard procedures for all animal transfers. The departure of the two bears leaves Taipei Zoo without any Malayan sun bears for the time being. The space they previously occupied, located within the zoo's tropical forest section, is expected to undergo renovations. Officials have not yet determined what species, if any, will eventually replace their spot in that exhibit. Zoo authorities indicated that the relocation aligns with their broader conservation goals and supports international cooperation in the care and preservation of species considered at risk. The Malayan sun bear is currently classified as vulnerable, making coordinated efforts between institutions a very important part of maintaining stable populations. Now, what I think is fun about this story is that having done TNR in my community, we have to do the same thing. So whether it's a tiny cat, a little kitten, or a very large Malayan sun bear, genuinely, the techniques are just about the same. So you have to get them accustomed. So I guess I should say, if you do have a cat or a dog at home and they're very afraid of the vet, and you do have to carry them there in a carrier or a crate, it is a good idea to get them used to the carrier at first by just putting it in the room. No pressure. If they don't seem interested, toss a few snacks, a few treats in there. Let them become accustomed to it and see it as a good, safe place, a happy place, before bringing them to the doctor and that. So it is fun how these transfer over. New Taipei City has established its first dedicated wildlife rescue and rehabilitation center in Sanzhi District, responding to a steady rise in injured animal cases across Taiwan. Officials estimate that approximately 6,000 wild animals require assistance each year, and this was reported on by Sean Scanlon with Taiwan News. The new facility expands upon an existing shelter and upgrades it into a more comprehensive operation designed to treat, rehabilitate, and eventually release wildlife back into natural habitats. According to local authorities, the center introduces a centralized 24-hour dispatch system to coordinate rescue efforts more efficiently. A 24-hour dispatch system. I'm impressed by that. Specialized infrastructure has been incorporated into the design, including medical treatment rooms and feeding areas tailored to different species. Adjustable enclosures using pulley systems allow staff to modify space as needed for that species while maintaining separation between animals and humans for safety. The center is equipped to handle a wide range of wildlife, including mammals, birds of prey, amphibians, and reptiles. Simulated environments have been constructed to mirror natural conditions, such as climbing structures for small mammals and water features for amphibious species. Data from recent months shows a notable increase in rescue cases. This could be because because the animals are more and more injured by the environment around them. It could also be slightly more positive and be because Taiwan has done a very good job at letting people know that there is a hotline to call when you run across an injured wildlife species, and people are more and more aware of that and are able to find it, whether that's online or if you're asking a friend. Annual figures previously averaged just over 2,000, but nearly 4,500 animals were rescued between September and March alone, suggesting the total for this year will be significantly higher. Officials attribute this trend to a combination of the urban expansion, habitat disruption, and again, like I said, growing public engagement and conservation efforts. So it's hard to say which one it really is. Commonly rescued animals include civets, squirrels, macaques, pangolins, and various bird species. A new documentary is set to premiere on May 15th, capturing more than a decade of effort to document the elusive mountain hawk eagle. The film follows a 12-year process of tracking and filming the bird in remote regions of Taiwan. This was reported on by Sean Scanlon with Taiwan News. Production took the filmmaker into mountainous terrain along the Southern Cross Island Highway and into indigenous communities in Pingdong, where the species holds cultural significance. The project also was part of ongoing conservation work by researchers and local groups. The mountain hawk eagle is a forest-adapted raptor distinguished by its long tail and broad wings, which allow it to navigate dense environments. It preys on a range of animals, including birds, mammals, and reptiles. The film incorporates aerial footage and close-up imagery to present rarely observed behaviors, accompanied by a musical score composed by Lim Gyong. It also draws on the research of longtime field expert Sun Yuanxun, who has studied the species for years. Liang, the filmmaker, has described the filming process as time-intensive and uncertain, with many expeditions yielding no usable footage. However, extended fieldwork ultimately allowed the team to capture key moments, including breeding and early development stages. Beyond its ecological focus, the documentary examines the bird's symbolic role in indigenous cultures as well, where its feathers represent status and ancestral ties. The film also touches on how tradition is being shaped by conservation, including the use of artificial feathers. I know that's a premiere I definitely want to be at, and I can't believe somebody's spending over 12 years filming a video, and then, not a video, a movie, a film, a masterpiece, I'm sure. And then many of those expeditions, when they set out to get footage, just resulted in nothing. Oh, goodness. Very frustrating. I don't think I could do it. A rehabilitated Formosan black bear and her cub have been released into the wild in Hualien County after roughly a year of care, marking the first time actually in Taiwan that a mother and offspring have been returned to their habitat on the same day. This was reported on by Keone Everington with Taiwan News. The adult bear was originally discovered caught in a snare trap in Zhuoxi Township and was later treated for injuries. Around the same time, a cub believed to be associated with the mother was located nearby and taken into care after monitoring confirmed its presence. Following the rescue, the animals were handled separately. DNA testing later confirmed their relationship. Attempts were made to reunite them during rehabilitation, but limited interaction led to continued independent care and training. The cub underwent rewilding preparation in a controlled forest environment where it learned essential survival behaviors such as foraging and avoiding human contact. By the time of release, it had grown significantly in size after a year and passed all evaluation criteria. The mother bear also recovered sufficiently, meeting health benchmarks required for reintroduction. Prior to their release, officials briefed local residents on monitoring procedures and safety measures, and they were met with support. These officials said that the community was very receptive to such advice. Both animals were released separately within a short interval to reduce stress and human interaction. They quickly moved into the surrounding forest. Authorities will continue to track them using satellite collars and geofencing systems. Officials have advised the public to avoid approaching wildlife and to report sightings through official channels. A protective bamboo barrier has been constructed in Jiayi County to safeguard little tern nesting grounds, tern as in T-E-R-N, from disturbances caused by stray dogs. The structure has been installed on an island within the Budai salt fields, which is a key breeding site for the species. Sean Scanlon with Taiwan News reported on this. The little tern, classified as a rare and valuable species in Taiwan, migrates from the southern hemisphere each spring. Its breeding season typically runs from May through August, with birds departing early autumn. Local authorities initiated this project after monitoring indicated that stray dogs entering nesting areas were damaging eggs and threatening chicks. The site, designated as an important wetland, supports a significant portion of Taiwan's breeding population. The fence has been designated to prevent terrestrial predators from entering while still allowing birds to move freely. Openings have been incorporated for flight access, and additional shelter structures have been added to provide protection for chicks. A buffer zone surrounding the barrier further reduces the likelihood of intrusion, improving their overall habitat and conditions. Officials say the measures are intended to stabilize breeding success and reduce human-related impacts. You may be thinking, how are the dogs human-related? Well, the humans brought them over here and they released them into the wild, so they're not supposed to be here. So it is very directly linked to human impact. Okay. Authorities also called on the public again to avoid feeding or abandoning animals in the area, noting that long-term conservation depends on reducing human-induced threats to wildlife habitats. In world animal news, this one takes us over to Iceland. Iceland Fashion Week has announced that it will no longer permit the use of animal fur in any participating collections, applying the policy to both domestic and international designers. The event, held annually in Reykjavik, that is Reykjavik, now aligns with other major fashion weeks that have already eliminated fur from their runways. The decision follows the release of footage from the country's first known undercover investigation into mink farming. The material, which aired on national television, documented conditions at several facilities and prompted public attention and criticism. Images from the investigation showed mink with visible injuries and infections, as well as animals exhibiting repetitive behaviors associated with stress. Dead animals were also observed in enclosures, and many were kept in confined wire cages. Animal welfare organizations, including Humane World for Animals and Animal Welfare Iceland, have called on authorities to introduce a nationwide ban on fur farming following these findings. Representatives from Iceland Fashion Week said that the event is moving towards a more sustainable and innovative focus, and said that the use of fur conflicts with those principles. Advocacy groups also said that they have noticed a shift away from fur within the global fashion industry as well. The announcement comes as European policymakers continue to consider potential restrictions on fur farming. Although a number of countries have already prohibited the practice, millions of animals are still raised for fur across the region. Research cited by campaigners indicates that fur production has environmental and public health implications, including disease transmission risks and even relatively high carbon emissions compared to alternative materials. An investigation by advocacy group White Coat Waste has raised concerns about the use of retired racehorses in federally funded research projects in the United States. Documents obtained through public records requests indicate that the work is being conducted at a laboratory affiliated with Cornell University and supported by the National Institutes of Health. This information is highly disturbing, so if you are sensitive to it, I recommend tuning out for just a couple minutes here. According to these findings, the study involves reproductive experiments in which mares are artificially inseminated and later subjected to procedures that end the pregnancies. Tissue samples are then collected for analysis as part of this research. The project is expected to involve around 80 horses of varying ages. Some of the animals are reported to be former racehorses that had previously been used in the racing industry before being transferred to research settings. Records cited in the reports suggest that the long-term outcomes for the horses are uncertain, with the possibility that some animals could be euthanized if they are not placed after the study concludes. Funding for the research began in 2025 with an initial allocation of just under $1 million, with additional funding projected to extend the project through 2030. The findings have prompted criticism from advocacy groups, of course, which argue that the use of retired racehorses in such experiments raises serious ethical concerns. This has also caught the attention of policymakers, with some calling for a review of federal funding for animal-based research. The NIH, the National Institutes of Health, NIH, has previously indicated an interest in reducing reliance on animal testing, though the report suggests that such practices remain in place across multiple agencies. If there is anything you would like to share with me or you would like to be featured on Formosa Fauna, go ahead and send me an email by writing to tristan@rti.org.tw. That is tristan@rti.org.tw. Making it to the end of an episode makes you a Formosa Fauna friend. Thank you for tuning in, friend. See you next time for Formosa Fauna Fridays here on Radio Taiwan International.